Welcome to Prompt Your Life. I am Christoph Theodor. Today's mission: total sovereignty.
By 2030, 1 in 6 people globally will be over the age of 60. This shift places a new kind of strain on healthcare systems, originally designed for acute illness rather than the long-term maintenance of human function. Historically, geriatric medicine followed a disease deficit model. This view defines aging almost exclusively as a downward slope, the progressive deterioration of physiological integrity, where accumulating biological damage leads to inevitable frailty. However, measuring pathology alone fails to explain why some individuals remain fully independent with multiple chronic conditions, while others with fewer clinical diagnoses require significant care. This gap in understanding has led to the development of the proactive resilience model. It centers on a metric called intrinsic capacity, the sum of all physical and mental reserves an individual can draw upon. Shifting the focus to intrinsic capacity means clinicians no longer just manage disease. They work to preserve the specific baseline reserves in locomotion, vitality, and cognition that prevent a person from crossing the threshold into disability. For those transitioning into retirement, the research suggests that maintaining these reserves requires a deliberate effort. Adaptation during this critical phase happens through active behavioral changes that directly influence the aging process at the molecular level. Moving through late adulthood with sustained independence requires an integrated approach across biology, psychology, and social behavior. This begins with the biological foundation of health and vitality, the core components of intrinsic capacity that dictate how a person moves, thinks, and interacts with their environment. Data shows that regular physical activity does more than just build strength. It mitigates the onset of frailty and preserves the cardiovascular health necessary to maintain an active lifestyle. This is supported by nutritional interventions. Adequate protein intake and balanced diets function as protective mechanisms that help maintain physiological reserves against the natural declines of age. Restorative sleep is equally vital, as it facilitates the neurological maintenance required to preserve cognitive function over several decades. Avoiding harmful inputs provides a measurable advantage. Smoking cessation, even late in life, immediately alters a person's aging trajectory by reducing systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. Often overlooked in this baseline is the proactive maintenance of sensory systems and dental health. If sensory degradation goes unchecked, it restricts a person's ability to navigate the world, which directly leads to social withdrawal and a faster rate of cognitive decline. Maintaining these physical baselines is not the final goal, but the prerequisite that makes psychological and social growth possible. Beyond biology, the mind provides the resilience needed to face age-related stressors. This often follows the PERMA model, cultivating positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and a sense of accomplishment. Retirees who consistently experience these elements show better clinical outcomes, including more stable mental health and a lower prevalence of chronic conditions. How a person thinks about their own aging has physical consequences. Positive age beliefs are linked to lower cortisol levels and a reduced inflammatory response within the nervous system. This was demonstrated in a Yale longitudinal study of older adults carrying the APOE epsilon-4 gene, the most significant genetic predictor of dementia. While gene carriers generally face a higher risk, those with positive beliefs about aging develop dementia at a rate of just 2.7% over the 4-year study, less than half the 6.1% rate seen in carriers with negative views. Cultivating this resilience allows individuals to reach the stage Erik Erikson called integrity. This requires a process of reviewing one's life. By accepting past accomplishments and disappointments, individuals achieve self-acceptance that prevents psychological distress in later years. This psychological framing acts as a physiological buffer, directly influencing how the brain and body respond to the challenges of aging. Social integration is building the third requirement, addressing the identity crisis that often follows the end of a lifelong career. For decades, work provides not just income, but a sense of identity and a daily social structure. When that structure disappears, it can leave a person feeling untethered and isolated. Research highlights the convoy model as the primary defense against this loss. It describes the group of social relationships that provide a continuous stream of support throughout a person's life. To maintain this convoy after retirement, individuals must deliberately shift their focus from workplace networks toward community-based relationships and new social groups. Being embedded in these local networks provides critical instrumental and emotional support, which becomes especially important during health-related transitions. Studies show maintaining a stable network of relationships reduces inflammatory markers in the body, providing a physical benefit to social health. Strong social integration prevents the post-career transition from turning into the kind of chronic isolation that accelerates physical decline. Once social ties are established, they are often directed towards a new sense of purpose, moving beyond professional identity to focus on contribution. This is the developmental stage of generativity, the need to establish continuity by leaving a positive, enduring mark on future generations. This drive is the basis for Encore Careers, post-retirement roles that prioritize social impact and personal meaning over traditional career advancement or income. Many find this through leadership or mentoring, using their accumulated expertise to support others and ensure their knowledge is passed on. Structured volunteering is a key mechanism here. It provides a sense of contribution while simultaneously promoting emotional regulation and reducing stress. The biological impact is significant. Retirees who volunteer more than 200 hours annually show lower levels of stress hormones and inflammatory markers than those who do not volunteer. By engaging in meaningful work, retirees invest in their own longevity, as purposeful action appears to slow the biological aging process at the molecular level. Contributing to society in later life isn't just a civic duty, it's a scientifically validated way to preserve personal health. The final layer of this approach is active engagement, preserving the brain's cognitive reserve through continuous intellectual challenge. When the brain is forced to process complex or novel information, it builds new neural pathways, creating a reserve that can offset the functional declines of aging. This often leads to a state of flow, a deep immersion in rewarding, challenging activities that fosters long-term psychological balance. This can involve pursuing extreme novelty, such as international retirement migration or learning a completely new language, which forces the mind to stay flexible. This continuous pursuit of the unknown prevents the cognitive stagnation and depressive rumination that can occur when the structure of full-time work is removed. By staying intellectually active, individuals can maintain their independence and functional capacity much longer than those who adopt a passive lifestyle. Continually expanding one's experiences and skills is the final requirement for maintaining an optimized aging trajectory. These 5 areas, physical, psychological, social, purposeful, and intellectual, do not function in isolation. They form a synergistic system where each layer supports the others. There is an upward dependency. A person's physical resilience provides the locomotion and vitality required to actually leave the house and engage in social and community work. There is also a downward influence. A person's psychological beliefs about their own age dictate whether they have the motivation to challenge themselves and stay intellectually engaged. This research rejects the idea that retirement is a passive end to productivity. Instead, it defines this stage as a highly active period of reconstruction, where biology and behavior must be consciously managed. By focusing on these 5 integrated areas, it is possible to systematically build a later life defined by vitality, purpose, and the preservation of our deepest human capacities.
The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's a landscape we build, one decision at a time. Whether it's how we invest our resources or how we protect our well-being, the power lies in being intentional. You don't need a perfect plan to start. You just need the curiosity to learn and the courage to adapt. Every small shift you make today creates a more resilient version of your future self. Design your life with Prompt Your Life. The future